friends, it's Lex at LexReads, and today I'm wrecking 5 of my favorite tearjerkers. So all 5 of these books are hard-hitting contemporary, and they're also all YA because I mostly read YA. I read a lot of tearjerkers, so expect more hard-hitting YA contemporary recommendations. This one I just felt like I needed to throw out there like my holy grail hard-hitting contemporaries, so that's what we're doing today. So without further ado, we're just gonna talk about the books. Alright, the first tearjerker I have to recommend to you is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This book, I don't want to tell you too much about it, because if you haven't read it, there's a fun little like mystery element to it. We follow like a rich girl, Cadence, who spends her summers out at their island, but she, a year or 2 years ago, had an accident while they were there and hasn't been back since. She suffers from these like brain-splitting migraines. It's sad. I was not expecting this book to make me cry, and then it did. You know, like, it's got like a little something extra, which is something I really like in my contemporaries, like a little bit something fantastical. It doesn't feel like it's hard-hitting until the end, and then I was sobbing, and it didn't feel like a mystery until the end, and then I was sobbing. You should read it. The next book that I have to recommend to you guys is Looking for Alaska by John Green. Yeah, so Looking for Alaska, if you haven't read Looking for Alaska and you haven't been spoiled on Looking for Alaska, I highly recommend it. So it's got the John Green, like, kind of pretentious teenager shtick, because all of his teenagers are a little bit pretentious. I like that because I'm a little bit pretentious. So when I was in high school, I was also kind of like that bullshit pretentious that a lot of high schoolers are. So when I read books like John Green, and I think another one of the books that I talk about later suffers from the same thing. It's where like people write teenagers as this like very kind of like wise, and they say all these weird shit. I was like that. So I vibe with that. Looking for Alaska follows a group of friends at a boarding school. They're breaking the rules, they're falling in love, there's mental illness. It's the ending, I think it's like the second half or the last third is very sad. It deals with grief. It's my heart. Also, Hulu just released a limited series of Looking for Alaska earlier in 2019, and I watched it, and it's phenomenal. So after you read it, go check that out. Super good. Also, if you haven't read it, I do recommend The Fault in Our Stars. It's not everyone's favorite book. It's not my favorite book, but holy shit, I bawled. And I know it's like kind of it got like meme cultured for a long time. But I want to go back and reread it because I did actually enjoy the read. It hurt me. Like, I felt personally attacked by that book. I just did. It's not really one of my recs. We'll call that one an honorable mention. Number 3 is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This book, okay, it's not a spoiler because it tells you. It's the kind of book where the whole time you're thinking, well, maybe they won't both die at the end. They both die at the end. I'm telling you, Adam is telling you, the frickin' synopsis is telling you, believe it. And it hurts, but the journey that these two boys, Mateo and Rufus, go on is beautiful, and they fall in love, and it's LGBT romance, and it's on their last day on Earth. This one takes place in a world that is like ours, but other in the fact that on your last day alive, you get a phone call from Deathcast, and they tell you that at some point today you're going to die. So Mateo and Rufus meet on this app called like Final Friends or Last Friends, and they have an epic adventure on their last day alive, and they fall in love, and it's very, very sweet, and I highly recommend it. It's so good. This was my second favorite book of 2019. So I ranked both of my favorite books of 2019 in this video. This one is one of my favorite books of all time. This is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This is another one of those books that I think falls prey to the, like, pretentious teen tropey kind of thing that, like I said, I really like. It's not everyone's cup of tea. It's one of my favorite books, she says, and then promptly forgets the protagonist's name. How? Am I a fake fan yet? All the Bright Places is a dual POV, hard-hitting YA contemporary that follows Theodore Finch and Violet Markey. Theodore Finch is a boy who is always thinking about the ways he might end his life, but small wonders in the world always stop him, and Violet is a girl who is always looking ahead. She's counting down the days to graduation. She's trying to escape the past in which her best friend and sister passed away. They meet on the ledge of a clock tower. I think everyone makes their assumption of who is really saving whom in that situation. And they later get paired up in class to discover the natural wonders of their state, and they go on this epic adventure. It is beautiful. It is heartbreaking. A lot of people don't like this book because they think it romanticizes mental illness. A lot of people don't like this book because they think it, like, sends a bad message. I'm telling you, as an individual who has struggled my entire damn life with anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, this book touched me in a way that few other books ever have. I identified with both of the protagonists in a lot of ways. The ending wrecked me. I, like, lost my shit. And I think in a lot of ways, at the time I read it, this book might have saved my life. So, some people hate it, some people love it. I think you should give it a shot. And of course, would this be I rec 5 tearjerkers book if I didn't rec my favorite hard-hitting YA contemporary, one of my favorite books of all time, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Told in letters, we follow Charlie as he embarks on his high school journey, dealing with trauma, making friends, losing friends. I read this when I was a freshman in high school for the first time, and this is another one of those books that changed and arguably may have saved my life. I adore all of the main characters in this book. We got some LGBT rep. It feels so timeless and so honest and so gut-wrenching. The movie is also fabulous. Stephen Chbosky wrote the screenplay, so it's so true to the book and it's so beautiful. God, I cannot recommend this book highly enough. This is my favorite coming-of-age story. It's short, it's a quick read. It's like 205 pages or something. The first time I read this book, here's a testament to how much I love this book. I finished it, I was crying, I flipped back to the first page, and I read it all again. I read this book twice in one sitting. It's so good. If you haven't read this book, please read this book. It's like, as far as how it affected me as a human, this is my favorite book of all time. It's not like, in actuality, my favorite book of all time. My favorite book of all time is a horror book. But as far as, like, what I gained from a book, this is it. This is, like, the creme de la creme. It's so important to me. It's so cute and little. I love it. I just love everything about this book, and I think you should read it. Alrighty! So those are my 5 tearjerker recommendations with a special honorary runner-up tossed on in there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I post a new video every Thursday with some bonus friends on other days of the week. So thank you for watching. I hope to see you very soon. Goodbye, friends. Mwah!